Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm excited to share my first experience using Affinity Publisher and how I made the most of a vibrant color palette featuring olive yellows and deep purples. So I'll walk you through my design process, which is a very basic layout process, or layout design, including how I played with font pairings and my favorite design technique, typescale, to create a clean and effective layout with a somewhat sort of sexy modern look and feel. Plus, I'll compare Affinity Publisher to Adobe InDesign, which I know this whole controversy surrounding Adobe has been doing the rounds online. And I think a lot of people are signing off from Adobe and looking for other, better and kind of safer apps to use and definitely more cost effective. So I'll also be touching on the pros and cons of each. So if you're a designer or a newbie designer curious about using Affinity, or if you're looking for a cost-effective alternative to Adobe, stick around. Let's start with the color palette I chose for this project, olive yellows and deep purples. If you're not particularly good at designing color palettes, or you kind of new to the game, or you're not really sure, or if you just want a shortcut, definitely go to coolers.co.za. You can see the link in the video description. You can definitely get some color palettes on there for free, and you can even subscribe to the pro version if you want more features. I am an affiliate for Coolers, so just full disclaimer there. Now, there's something about this combination that feels both bold and elegant, creating a striking contrast that really makes the design pop. Olive yellows bring warmth and a touch of earthiness, while the purples add depth and sophistication. I found that using these colors together creates a nice dynamic visual experience that draws the viewer in. If you're looking to make a statement with your design, I highly recommend experimenting with a color palette that feels almost somber and dull in tonality. But once you start exploiting those colors, you can see the potential for it to look really sophisticated. Next, let's talk about my favorite aspect of design, font pairings and typescale. For this project, I focused on creating a clear typographic hierarchy that guides the viewer's eye effortlessly through the layout. By carefully choosing complementary fonts and playing with typescale, I was able to achieve a balance between readability and visual appeal. Now, for those of you who don't know what typescale is and how it's calculated, there is actually a very specific equation for it. And basically what you take is a specific font size and multiply that by 1.618, and then keep multiplying it by the same 1.618 in increments, and until you get kind of the bigger size that you may want. I always found in my experience, and the way I still use it to this day in my own freelance projects, that I start with the smallest point size in my layout project, which is almost always the body copy size. And then I multiply that in increments of 1.618, and then I just basically make a list going vertically from the bottom all the way up to as big a point size as I might need, which would probably invariably be the headline. So if you guys want a quick cheat sheet for it, just look in the link in the bio when you can download a PDF where I've got quite a few lists and combinations of type scales that you don't even need to calculate. You can basically just grab a point size from there. So just go ahead and do that. But aside from that, this approach not only makes the layout more effective, but it also gives it that, that polished, sexy look that I'm always aiming for. And if you're like me and you love typography, you know how powerful the right font choices can be in transforming a layout from mediocre to good to great. Now, even though I'm talking about font pairings, for this design, I've actually decided to pair Poppins with Poppins. So it's actually one typeface family, and I'm using Poppins regular with Poppins semi-bold for the headline. It's basically using type scale to create that contrast. But you can absolutely just follow the same principle if you're combining or font pairing two different typefaces. The same principle applies. Now let's dive into my first impressions of Affinity Publisher. Honestly, I found the experience surprisingly easy and intuitive. The interface is clean and straightforward, which made it a breeze to get started. However, I couldn't help but notice that it has a somewhat rudimentary feel compared to InDesign. Now, don't get me wrong, this isn't necessarily a bad thing. In fact, the simplicity of Affinity Publisher was kind of a breath of fresh air for me, especially after working with InDesign for so long. And speaking of InDesign, let's talk about how these two software programs stack up against each other. InDesign is undoubtedly a powerhouse. It's heavily layered with functionality and offers a level of sophistication that's hard to match. It's the industry standard for a reason, and Adobe has been refining it for decades. However, this also means that InDesign can feel a bit overwhelming at times, especially with the later versions. Adobe keeps adding features which, while it's useful, can make the interface feel kind of crowded and hard to navigate. Sometimes everything on the screen starts to feel smaller, more condensed, and frankly, it can be a bit of a headache and quite literally hard to see. On the other hand, Affinity Publisher's simplicity is where it really shines. It strips away all the excess and focuses on the essentials, which can be a huge advantage when you just need to get the job done efficiently. There's something to be said for a tool that's easy to use and doesn't overload you with options. As much as we love Adobe for that, Affinity still, at the end of the day, allows you to create high-quality professional designs. And for those of you who are wondering, yes, you can open Adobe InDesign documents inside Affinity. You do need to go to an external online web-based app to convert it. That's the nice thing about Viva Design, which I'll do another video for. Viva actually saves out IDMLs for you, but Affinity can do that as well. It's just a matter of taking it to another app. So I will leave a link for that in the description of this video as well. So for those of you who are like me, as a freelancer, if you're worried about converting to Affinity and not being able to open your client's InDesign files, don't worry about it, because you'll still be able to do that. So let's talk about the cost aspect. If you're a freelancer like me, you know how expensive it can be to maintain Adobe subscriptions. Where you're not pulling in clients every month, those subscription fees can start to feel like a real burden. And I know there's a lot of people out there who can relate right now. And that's where Affinity Publisher comes in as a fantastic alternative. It's a one-time purchase, which you might need to kind of bite the bullet first time round. And just bearing in mind that the mobile versions are a little bit cheaper. So if you are working on an iPad, it'll cost you much less. But even as a one-time purchase, it's a huge relief when you're trying to keep your overheads low, because once you've paid up, you've got it for life. And for this price, you get a solid, reliable design tool that can handle most projects just as effectively as InDesign. And to wrap things up, I want to emphasize that while Adobe remains the professional industry standard, Affinity Publisher is an excellent option. And it's one that I've totally embraced, especially when the slow months arrive and I'm just either clients are kind of reneging on jobs and I'm just not getting paid. It really helps when I don't have an Adobe subscription to pay. So for freelancers and small business, this is a great option to invest in. And also it's user-friendly and it's capable of producing really beautiful designs. Like I said before, it handles the essentials, which is all you need. And if you're a great designer, if you've got good skills, nothing to do with talent, if you know what you're doing, you will know how to wield it and get the most out of it. And if you're feeling overwhelmed by the complexity of Adobe's offerings, or if you're just looking for something simpler and more budget-friendly, I highly recommend giving Affinity a try. It's always good to have a standby tool that you can rely on without, breaking the bank. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you found this breakdown helpful. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more content on design tools, tips and tricks. And let me know in the comments if you tried Affinity Publisher and what your experience has been like. Until next time, keep creating and stay inspired.